episode 15. My name is Lisa Brierley, and this is my husband, Scott Brierley. And we are so excited that we have on two amazing guests today. You are going to love our topic. And I know exactly. I'm going to introduce Dave and Susan Kenney to you, and we'll get started on our amazing conversation. So Dave and Susan Kenney, welcome. They have spent over a decade running a private residential recovery and wellness program, guiding and mentoring over 2,000 individuals toward a life of recovery and more vibrant well-being. Living on site 24/7, they've witnessed firsthand the struggles people face beyond structured therapy sessions, those quiet battles with trauma, failure, and of course, the big one, self-doubt. As the founders of Emergo Academy, they are building a thriving online community that not only supports those facing addiction and crisis, but also trains recovering coach warriors. And I know for those on Spotify, we're pointing to ourselves too. Certifying coaches worldwide to make a lasting impact. And what is their main goal here? To train 1,000 coaches, which is an amazing goal, which will help 1,000 clients reaching over 1 million lives by 2026. And another connection we have with Dave and Susan, they are Amazon International best-selling authors in 5 categories, pioneering their book, Actualized Recovery, a brain-first approach to lasting recovery. Their passion is extremely clear, which is why we are attracted to them. When you change your brain, you change your life. So welcome, Dave and Susan Kenney.
It is so nice to be with you guys, and congrats on the podcast. Love the name, love your energy. Changing the world.
I think after that intro, we're done. That's it. Wrap it up.
Yeah, we've already spoken pre this podcast, a good almost 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And we're excited to have this amazing conversation with you and share this amazing information with our audience. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's launch, baby. Let's go.
So what inspired you guys to create the Actualized Recovery Method, and how is it different than traditional recovery?
It came, there was no purpose intent. Like, we didn't sit down one day and say, let's create this. This evolved out of working with people and helping people and understanding that the brain drives behavior. We created a program around a brain-centered place. And then I was enrolled in my PhD studies, and we pulled away for a couple of days. We rented a boardroom with these whiteboards all around the room, and we rented it for 2 straight days. And so there was hundreds and hundreds of things written on the boards. And then we started to group them and categorize them.
Well, hang on. Leading up to that, we needed to figure out, because everything was working. We were having massive success with people healing. They would come and spend 4 to 6 weeks with us and go home completely different people. And people said, what's your methodology? What are you doing? And we said, we don't really know why it's working.
Well, I remember the first time I used the phrase brain first. I was on the phone with a family who asked me, what is this?
Yeah.
And how do you do this? And how are these testimonials so strong? And I said, well, what we do is we focus on the brain first. Not the brain only.
Yeah.
Because if the brain drives behavior, well, and we want to influence or change behavior, well, then let's go to the engine, which is the brain. Mm-hmm. And so this evolution happened, and I have pictures on my phone of this crazy 2-day kind of mini retreat.
So we wrote down everything that we did.
Where we categorized everything,
yeah,
and then we brainstormed, and then over the next year, we massaged it a little bit before we were ready to really write a book about it. But that was the evolution of actualized recovery and the brain first approach, and there's 5 pillars to that, or 5 foundations to that after the brain: the physiology, psychology, spirit, connections, and lifestyle. That's another conversation, but if anybody's interested, it's not about 12 steps. Recovery is a brain thing.
Yeah, and that's your book right behind you, the Actualized Recovery book you have right there.
Right there.
And
There
everything
it
is
is.
explained in that book. So to
There
get
you
it
go.
more in depth, it's in that book.
And it's actually the book that got Lisa and I connected with
Oh,
Dave
that's right.
because
That's
Yeah,
right.
I remember,
I remember the
Lisa, I remember
emails.
you reaching out, and it was so, the book hadn't been out for very long.
Yeah, no.
And it was a beautiful email you had sent. Just, yeah, you were so kind, and you said so many nice things about the book. And here we are now,
I,
over a year
Well,
later.
if you think of it though, if the brain's driving it, you get to take away shame.
Yeah,
Blame is silly, but shame and guilt about why am I doing all of these things, no matter how much I want to stop. I don't care what it is, eating, gambling, substance, I don't care what it is.
mhm,
What are the things in our life that steals our light, steals our future? When you begin to understand that the brain is driving that seeking relief and you can change that, you get rid of all the shame and guilt, and then you can create a path forward. That's what the book, and that's what our mission, and that's what our career and our life is all about.
yeah, and to understand too, you're not alone. Everyone has this brain that's, as we learned from you, the more is neuroplastic, right? You have the neuroplasticity, and we can change at any time in our life, right?
exactly. Yeah, no matter what age, no matter what damage you've done before, as long as it still has function, you can change it.
Exactly. Now, you had mentioned that addiction, like one of the things is that you say addiction isn't the problem. And I know you explore that a lot in your book. And so you
Mhm.
actually say that addiction is the solution.
Yeah,
So that's a kind of a radical idea for a lot of people. They just want to say, I have a problem with drinking. I have a problem with drinking. So can you
right.
kind of unpack that for our listeners and our audience? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you think about it, if you have pain, whether that's emotional or physical, and you use something to get rid of that pain, we wouldn't blame people for that. And that's what we mean about addiction is a solution. So there's something further upstream that's causing somebody to use a substance or have a gambling issue because you're looking for an adrenaline seeking response, whatever it is. Whatever you cannot stop doing is the solution that takes you away from having to deal with the emotion, having to face a past trauma, whatever that is. And why would you deny somebody relief? Because that's what addiction is,
Well,
right?
the the behavior or substance doesn't matter
Mhm,
is a short-term
mhm.
solution. So whether somebody wants to smoke something, drink something, eat something,
Yeah,
there is a short-term relief,
right.
but usually at a long-term cost. There are other ways of handling stress and trauma and all of the things which the brain gets over is processing either in a frozen state or in a hyperactive state, and we use a behavior or a substance to calm the brain or bring homeostasis or balance to the brain
Right.
on a short period of time. So it is a temporary solution, but it is not something that is long term very healthy for us.
Yeah, it brings a lot of problems with it. But does that make sense? Did we
Yeah,
explain that well? Yeah.
so
And I think we often don't, I know even for me, we don't understand how powerful we are in making those decisions or having a different choice and making a different choice, and how when you make that different choice, where it brings you to. Like, I think
Mhm.
we get lost in the frustration of the addiction or.
and also,
Right. Your focus. Sorry, go ahead,
go
Scott.
ahead.
I was
Well,
just going to say, when you look in the book, we talk about the iceberg, and there's an iceberg model in there where at the top of the iceberg, it's the 10%, which is focusing on the problem. Addiction is the problem, but there's so much more below that. And if you continue to focus on what the problem is, you're going to continue to get more of whatever you're focusing on. So that's why we say focusing on the addiction and solely on a solution for that isn't going to solve the problem. You've got to go deeper in that. What's really driving it is far below the surface of that 10%.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's looking inward.
Mhm.
100%. That's what I was gonna say. It's like the word decision, most people have that word kind of as softer than it really is, because when you make a decision, it's
Yeah.
actually the action part, not just, oh, I
Yeah.
made a decision to go to the store and you sit there, because that's not a decision. And
Yeah.
I was one of those people that thought, oh, I decided to do this and it should happen. And it doesn't happen unless you get up off your butt and do it.
Yeah.
Well, there's another myth in the world of addiction and recovery that people are powerless.
Yeah.
100%.
Psychology teaches us that's not the case. Logotherapy teaches us that's not the case. There's a stimuli, so an event. There's a response, what I choose to do. Do I yell? Do I slam a door? Do I drink? But what happens in between is there's a gap. Now, sometimes that gap is a nano of a second, sometimes it's hours and days. But there is a period where I get to choose my response to the stimuli. That doesn't go away because people are addicted to a substance or a behavior. We still have that gap. Now, I'll throw that out the door if somebody's addicted to cocaine and goes and does a line of cocaine. I mean, maybe the week or the weekend is forget about it. Yes, because it impacts the brain and the brain's inability to understand consequences. Okay, I get that. But there was a series of events that led them to call their dealer, to go to the dealer, to go to the party. Let's back up a little bit further. It's not the time when I sat down at the bar and ordered the drink. It's the gap in the decisions to show up at the bar. And that's where we can catch it and change behavior. So this thing of powerlessness, I cannot disagree more. And it weakens people. And it also, from a victim point of view, gives me an excuse. It's not my fault. I'm powerless.
Right.
And psychology teaches, it's not just me. Psychology teaches us that we have the power to make a decision to any stimuli, and how we respond to that is up to us.
Exactly.
So I got a little bit, dive a little bit deeper. So what happens if somebody is full of trauma or ADHD or on the spectrum and they're not treated? Whether they're in addiction or not.
Well, they're gonna seek a behavior of or a substance of some kind to soothe them. That's what we're talking about.
No, I know
Is it
that's kind of what I'm
is it a
asking.
short-term solution? So sometimes people are cutters because neurologically they get relief. It makes no sense. Think about it. It doesn't make any sense that somebody hurts their body, but they're doing it to get neurological relief from a brain pattern, typically a parasympathetic, where they're frozen and they begin to feel again. So and then shame and guilt and all of that about this pattern and behavior. And we know this because we've worked with so many people in this area before. So if somebody hasn't found solutions, typically from a brain point of view, they will seek a behavior or a pattern. Maybe it's running, but maybe it's not just running. Maybe it's running to an extreme
Yeah.
where their body breaks down, their family is ignored, their finances are ignored. So it can be any behavior where they seek relief that doesn't serve them.
Yeah, I hear you. That whole the powerless, like I'm not part of the AA community, although I've been to a handful of meetings, and it's interesting as a normie, as they like to call me, walking into that and hearing the language of, hi, my name is, I'm an alcoholic, and understanding that I felt like this was like this negative reinforcement, and understanding that the thoughts in our head and what we are thinking and saying to ourselves and saying in public is so important. So is that also another area that you focus on?
Yeah. And Lisa, you hit on it. Words have power. And the most powerful two words are I am. So whatever you put behind I am
Yeah.
is going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so the energy behind, as you said, standing up and saying, I am whatever, I am an alcoholic. I am your brain hears that and you're locked into that pattern too. So yeah, words are powerful.
Very.
And the opposite is the opposite of not using a substance The word sober, if you ever look up the definition of sober, nobody would ever want to be that. Like, it means you're boring, you're dull, you don't do anything, right? People don't want to be with you. So the opposite of any addiction is living, right? It's joy, it's experiencing life, it's loving, it's having fun. It's not being sober.
It's eudaimonia.
It's you.
My favorite word, eudaimonia. Eudaimonia comes from Aristotle, and eudaimonia means a life of well-being and thriving and flourishing in every way, financially, relationships, physically, in everything. And eudaimonia is long-term happiness. Sometimes you got to sacrifice the short term. Like, I got to wake up and go to the gym when I don't want to. Sometimes there's a short-term sacrifice, but eudaimonia is long-term happiness. The opposite to eudaimonia is hedonism. And that's where, my moral decay happens.
It's the party.
And that's where hedonism is not about happiness.
Temporary.
People think it is. It's pleasure.
Right.
And pleasure is temporary, usually at the cost of long-term happiness. So, and drugs and alcohol and some of the gambling and all that fits in the hedonistic lifestyle. Eudaimonia, baby, if you could step into that and live a life of thriving and flourishing, it's a values-based life, a place of meaning. There's great peace, there's great joy there.
Yeah, that word peace sticks out for me. It's that long-term internal peace.
I started going back after probably a 5-year space of 12-step programs. And when I started coming to Thailand, I didn't know anybody. So I kind of went and I fell into that trap again where I got this crazy because of all their stuff. And this year when I come back, because I don't really go to many meetings in Canada, but it's like today I go, I'm a member of AA when I got to introduce myself and people look like they don't like it at all. It's uncomfortable for them. It's different. I've been asked why, and it's because of what we said earlier. Like, I don't want to label myself anymore.
Yeah.
And to be a member is just being a member. It's kind of reinforced me that I'm okay and I'm in the right spot. And the cool part of that, what I've been doing though, is I share Scott's story.
Yeah.
And I just had a friend that he's just took 20 years and we were chatting and he's seeing a trauma therapist and apparently it's a result for me. And then I've been talking to him about ADHD and he was going to bring it up with his trauma therapist in the last appointment, but his trauma therapist brought it up to him that he should get tested for ADHD. And that's also, I'm making a difference. And it's like, that is one of the coolest things in the world, to be able to watch somebody grow and
Yes.
watch somebody change their belief system.
Yeah. Yeah. When we're training coaches, and you know this from being in the classes, we loved working with people that were going through their own recovery.
Yeah.
10 times more we love watching coaches, because when the lights go on and they start to connect, like, there is no greater joy and eudaimonia to watch that, and then to have each of you open your own business or to see people.
It's unbelievable.
Right? The lights are going on, and yeah,
The ripple effect is fulfilling to Susan and I, because we can only reach so many people. But with, as we call them, and you have, as a team of recovery coach warriors, and we say that word with great respect and admiration,
yeah,
we all as a team can impact the world at a far greater level.
yeah, and so many different people. There's, for every coach that we're training, they're going to attract a different audience. And so, yeah, that's what we're really pumped about.
Perfect. So the coaching program that you run, who is it for, and kind of what kind of transformation will they expect or experience by becoming a certified recovery coach?
You got this.
Who's it for? Any adult. First of all, that's the only thing, is any adult who wants to create greater impact. Typically, the people we work with are more of a mature audience, although we've trained some younger people as well. Some professionals, doctors, psychologists, therapists, recovery
Teachers.
counselors, teachers, nurses, but also retired people, retired military, retired accountants, stay-at-home moms. So it's not limited to educational background. You don't have to have an educational
Yeah.
background. You have to have a heart where you want to make a greater impact, maybe leave a legacy. Recovery coaching is the, we say this, but it is the number one coaching industry right now in the world. And sadly, there's a reason why, and that is that more people are struggling today than ever.
Yeah.
And with those struggles, people are looking for somebody to work with, somebody to help. There's a study done by the U.S. government that 94% of people struggling with an addiction in the United States, adults struggling with an addiction in the United States, do not get professional help. All sorts of reasons why. Embarrassment, family, jobs,
Cost.
go down cost, go down the list. And a life coach really, like, what problem are you solving? My life is good. A recovery coach can step in when there's a crisis, or hopefully even before the crisis, and help shed a light and show a path forward. And you know this with some of the models we teach and all of that. We don't do it for people. This is about, you guys know this because you feel this, believing in greatness in others,
Yeah.
letting them lean on you for a while, showing them the way, and helping them find their extraordinary gifts in the world. That's what a recovery coach is. So there's really no criteria of academic or age. There is a desire to want to make an impact and a difference in people's life. And sometimes people are attracted to this because of the freedom in their own life, financial freedom, live, well, who am I talking to? Live where you want to live and work where you want to work.
We have a new tagline. It's the world is your office.
The world is.
So as long as you've got internet connection, you can be a recovery coach anywhere.
We love it. I mean, we've got trips planned, and you know about a couple that we've done, and we get to build our schedule around that. So the freedom is also something that we both really enjoy.
And Lisa, you asked who it's for. There's a compassion, the ability to see the greatness in other, or understand, not be in judgment of others. So the other day I did decline somebody that wanted to be a recovery coach.
They were still in active addiction
Right.
themselves.
And I was going to say they were still in an active addiction, and that's not the time to be a recovery coach. That's the time to have a recovery coach.
Good point. I know when I personally went through your coaching program this past spring, I really benefited from it. Like, I show up differently now. And you had mentioned that if you have an internet, connection, you can do this job anywhere, and you can live anywhere in the world. But what I found is that just meeting new people, like we had met some new people along the way, and it's like, wow, I brought the skills. Like they weren't a client, they were just someone I met, but I was able to bring the skills of what I learned in your program and make better connections, be more of a compassionate listener. And I'm excited about my third book, because that's one of the big things, is my understanding of listening, so someone is heard and being able to listen. So yeah.
Oh, I was listening to a podcast today, and it's Chris Voss, who is he was an FBI negotiator.
FBI, negotiator.
Hostage
negotiator. And it stunned me, but he said, by the time people are taking hostages, the real reason is they have never really been listened to. He said, one of two things happens when people aren't listened to. They either retreat and they stop talking, or they go the other way and they become like, you are going to listen to me. I am going to do something that is going to command the attention. What a wow statement is how important it is for us to be listened to.
To be heard. We were just speaking with another guest of ours, Brian McGrath. He was saying the same thing, that the clients who are coming to him, that is the understanding. They have never really been heard. And so
At a
that's,
deep level.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, and recovery coaching is not rescuing, and there's a massive
Mhm.
difference here, and a lot of people don't get it. And that's one of the hardest things in training coaches is to let go of the outcome.
Mhm.
Because if you're married to the outcome, you're going to want to force things. Let go of the outcome, trust in greatness in somebody, believe in that, and to become a coach or a guide. That's all you are, is a guide through this journey of theirs, and you're with them for a short period of time. But to step into the rescuer role, which is, I know this, or my story, do what I did. It has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with the person in front of you. That's all about you. And you now have turned the light on you, and you now become the rescuer, which does not help somebody long term.
Mhm.
It's
oh,
you might get short term success like this weekend, but not long term.
Mhm.
yeah, oh, yeah. I think that's how we show up for each other, actually.
Well,
I didn't say
100%.
that. Neat how that
Which is a
happens.
strong relationship.
And that comes from the coaching. You talked about this over and over and over. We hear our coaches say, "I was the first person to grow and change." And you have to teach this, to guide this. You have to have the shifts as well. As you say, in listening, in communicating, in compassion, all of that. To give that, you must live that. Oh, I like that. I like that phrase. To give that, you must live that.
I like it too.
It's actually even amazing. I'm finding since I've taken the course and since I've changed so much in the last 5 years, guys I've worked with in the past are seeing me on Facebook and they're reaching out for my advice or my to talk. And it's like one
Okay,
of the
that's
last
wow.
gentlemen, I got him to do a little exercise. I haven't sure if he's done it yet. I'm gonna call him and then I'm gonna actually do your famous red green line
Yeah.
with him coming up. Just so
Okay.
you can see it, and then I'll do the values chart with them after that. Cause
Yeah.
it's like just helping people get over that hump is all you need to do. Cause once they can get over that hump,
Yeah.
then they can grow.
So what you're talking about, for people who don't know about what
Yeah.
the four of us are talking about, are models.
Yeah.
And when you walk somebody through a model and they get to use their language, you just guide the model. They use their language and words. They look at it and go, "Oh my God." Like, this isn't about therapy where you're talking about how you feel.
No.
I don't care about how people feel. I really don't. What I care about is where they're at today and where do they want to go tomorrow, and how do we build that?
Yeah.
That's recovery coaching. So, because sometimes you're going to feel like crap. Well, that shouldn't. If you focus on just the feeling, then they're going to stop. This is about, here you are today, and you have choices. You could go downward, and there's downward momentum, the red line. The green line is the upward line, and the upward momentum of where you want to be. Now let's create that life. And then, as you said before the podcast started, Scott, about their choices and their actions.
Mhm.
And now they marry their actions to what it is they want. Pretty quick, they begin to go, "Wow, this is amazing." So the models that we teach are designed to create inner inspiration and motivation, intrinsic inspiration inside of somebody, versus you being a rah-rah coach.
Yeah.
Because the minute you leave, the inspiration's gone. So it has to come here. And good for you, Scott, and pulling out those
But
models and sharing those.
I actually used the wrong words, advice,
Yeah.
because what he wanted to know was how I did it.
Yeah, your story.
And I know that's advice, but to me, advice is I'm gonna go do this.
Yeah.
And I don't want him to do what I did. I'm gonna encourage him and share what I've done, however.
You're coaching him.
Yeah.
You're not giving him advice. You're coaching
Yeah.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And think of a sport coach, a basketball coach, a soccer coach. They give skills and then they stand on the sideline and let the person execute and do it. They watch, they observe, they call them over, they talk to them later at a practice, which could be your coaching session, but they don't go out on the field and do it for them.
Yeah.
That's the difference, and that's what you're talking about with your buddy, is coaching him. And there's hope because he looks at you and goes, "Dude, I used to know you and I like where you're going." And so, like, you've given him inspiration and hope. Now he's got to learn that, and you do that through coaching.
Chai.
Exactly. You chai.
Chai.
We
That's a
automatically.
Thailand word.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
chai.
Chai? What's chai?
Chai is yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Chai.
You could say chai later, okay?
Okay. Not chai tea.
I think for all of our coaches too, just moving along, for all of our coaches, was it a turning point for either of you, both of you, when you figured out you didn't have to have all the answers in
It's true.
coaching? That
Yes.
a great coach has the greatest questions,
Yes.
and you reflect it back, and it's part of that deep listening. So you guys felt that
Oh, yes.
which is what we endeavor to teach. This is not, you do not have to have the lived experience of everybody that you're going to be coaching with. What you have to be able to do is ask fantastic questions that gets people to really think deeply and make decisions on their own.
Exactly.
So with this world as crazy and as much crisis we're in,
Mhm.
what kind of impact do you think recovery coaching can give to the lives of the people in the world?
Well, we've been doing it now 2 years, so we're seeing it with our graduates. They're reaching out to us. There's a woman in England that opened up a retreat for young women that have been in the trafficking. We've got ex-military
More of
that are,
more of a safe house than a
Yeah.
retreat.
Yeah.
But yes.
there's you guys, right? And what you're doing online and with your podcast and in Thailand and influencing people. So we can go through the list now.
Young
of-
man in Ireland who's working with
Yeah.
people, and he's opened up a great business. We've got a doctor in New Jersey who's leaving the medical profession to open her clinic, but to bring
Yeah.
in. She's tired of medical in the U.S. because of the insurance forms,
Yeah.
and she wants to bring in the coaching with her practice and have an integrative practice, which she's not allowed to do where she is right now.
Yeah.
We can keep going.
Well,
We've got
food. There's a coach that I just did some follow up with, and she's opened an incredible business helping people recover from nutrition with nutrition stuff. So major illnesses. So yeah, it's cool. We're starting to see now our recovery coaches. Everyone is unique in what they're building, but everybody's making an incredible impact.
Yeah, those positive impacts, and it has a ripple effect, kind of like even like Scott was talking about. He's stepping back into those AA meetings, but he's having this positive ripple effect on other people.
And
Yeah.
Cool.
the other cool part of that is I used to sit there and think, all these people are judging me.
Mm.
Today, I sit there and think, I hope they're judging me.
Ah,
Judging me, I'm
Hey, I like
trying
that flip.
something in them.
yeah.
And it's got nothing to what they're doing or thinking has nothing to do with my space at like
Yeah.
zero. And that was a hard learning curve for Scott, because it's like, I need to be I need to be liked. I need to be, even though I was angry and miserable and didn't like it, and nobody liked me.
And your opinion of me is none of my business.
But that comes from you, Scott, me,
Oh.
any of us being comfortable with ourselves, and then it disappears and goes away. And people who struggle with this, especially people that are using, drinking, using, acting out, or narcissists, are not comfortable with who they are,
Right.
and everything's exterior. The moment you are just comfortable in your own skin, that just, you smile, and you smile with love.
Lisa, you and I love the 4 agreements.
Yes.
Well,
Oh, yes.
yes.
Yeah.
The 4 agreements is be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point, Scott, it sounds like you're there, because you're not judging that somebody's looking at you in a negative way anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a beautiful.
Plus you're a cool dude, so it doesn't, that doesn't hurt.
I can be a dork at times, though.
Ah, can't we all?
we can slip back into old ways. And what's really cool is that our relationship, and I'm sure you guys are similar, it's like, what's going on there? Like we can actually have a conversation about it and
Yeah.
again, make a different decision.
And it only
Yes.
lasts a minute versus days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
one of the things from a brain point of view
I was
is
just
to
gonna
call a
say the
timeout.
brain. Yeah.
And hang on, I want to share this with all of your listeners for any relationship in a family, because that's usually where it comes up. To actually agree that we agree that if one of us yells timeout, I need a timeout, the other person's got to back off. There's a couple conditions to that. You can't leave. Okay, so sometimes it'll, how long do you need? 10 minutes. And then I'm come back in 10 minutes. She goes, no, I need half an hour. I'll give her the half an hour. Like I got to respect that and not, why I didn't need to. No, she called the timeout. And then come together when you're both ready and not so elevated, and the brain's able to process and think better instead of run on this hot temper emotion. So I offer that with family members to use a timeout.
Or yellow light, red light, green light.
Yeah,
You can use it. Mayday.
Oh, there you go. Our magic word, I think, is processing. So we just say, I need some time to process this. And so, yeah, it's literally have that space
And
and come back together. Yeah.
we're at a point in our relationship that if one of us says that, we just leave it alone. Because we know
Yes.
the person's gonna, like, we don't do the 10 or 20-minute thing, and because we know we're gonna talk
come
about
back
it. It's just because we feel safe.
Yeah.
And as long as we can build a safe environment, it's like we own the world because we own us. And the power is within us to do what we need to do for us.
But the safety you're talking about is also a brain thing. Is that the brain now knows it doesn't have to fight.
Yeah.
It can relax. And when the brain relaxes better, it functions better, and you're able to process and you're able to connect better. Also, eye contact coming into resolution of a disagreement. Eye contact is an intimate thing.
Yeah.
And if you really want to understand somebody, look at them right in the eye as they're sharing things with them, and then mirror back what you hear. Why? Because we talked about this earlier. People want to be heard.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm listening to Susan and I'm ready to rebut, and I got my side, she doesn't feel heard. Now, I'm not great at it. I'm still working on it. But if I mirror back what I'm hearing, she's able to calm and go, okay, the knucklehead is finally hearing me. Good. And so those are just some tips from a brain point of view, how to handle chaos and crisis.
Yeah. It's like talking to teenagers. You know, teenagers are the hardest to engage, but even if a teenager comes home and you say, how was your day? Fine. And you go on to another comment, you've missed the opportunity just to mirror, fine.
Yes.
You've been heard, right? So whatever they say back, you've stopped and you didn't go to, well, what about your day was fine? You know, it's
Because that's an argumentative place versus
your tone is so important.
Yes.
The softness of the tone and raising it fine is so inviting, and you feel heard.
And,
the neat part.
No, I was just going to say, and you can sort of put that to the test a little bit, just like you had mentioned that to us, to do that, to say you're out grocery shopping and you're going and you're talking to the cashier, like just to kind of give it a test and see how it feels. It's cool experiment thing to do.
Well, that's pattern language, and that's rewiring your brain to be more comfortable with pattern language. So when you are coaching, it flows from a genuine place, and it's not a structured thing you're saying. You'd be surprised at the depth of relationships outside of coaching and in coaching when you mirror people.
Yeah. And sometimes, especially with things like texting, but sometimes we think we heard what they said, or
Texting shouldn't. There should be no emotion because it's a place.
It should be a place for your shopping list.
There you go.
I generally video call if a text goes longer than 3 back and forth. I video the person back so you can because then you can be intimate and you see the person's action and it's real.
Yes. Yeah,
So
100%.
what I was going to say though is it seems like we've gotten off track on recovery, but we haven't.
No.
I want to share with the listeners is that these are fundamental principles to recovery. And how do I handle emotions without running away and self-soothing some way in a negative way? How do I handle these situations and understand that the brain is driving it? And so these are practical skills and tips so that you can handle it and manage it in your life in a more positive manner.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the reasons why we've internalized them in during your program was that we actually get to practice them, right? And we had lots of different ways for us to learn: video, practice, listen, like just different ways that we could absorb it, and not just, your straight, preach from the podium kind of a thing. So the way you had your program set up was very, very well received. I'll say that.
And I
Thank
know
you for those compliments.
for all of this, the way where it's kind of spun to, it kind of brings me to mind one of the best pieces, and it was advice somebody gave me, because I always thought rolling over and saying I love you to your partner in the morning when you wake up was the appropriate thing to say. However, I knew this much about how to love somebody. So how could I love her when I didn't know? So what
Wow.
the gentleman said to me was, why don't you roll over and go, hey babe, how can I love you today?
Wow. I remember that.
This
Yeah.
giving the person the opportunity to teach me how they
Yeah.
would like to be treated. And I spin it a lot differently. Not, I mean, with my wife, I don't, but with you, it's like, how can I be your friend today?
Yeah.
And it's that simple. And it's like, it brings everybody closer together without all the dramatic stuff. Cause your friend could go, I just need somebody to hang out with today. Or I
Yeah.
just need you to leave me alone today.
Yeah.
Like,
So we've updated things on the course a little bit
Oh,
because of people
A
that
lot.
live all over the globe. So we now have everything recorded in the class, but we're still doing the live coaching. So every week we meet and do a question and answer, ask us anything. Then we do live classes to bring the book to light. So we go through chapters and we pull those apart. And then we just named the other one the other day,
You remember? Coaching lab.
Coaching Lab. So everything that's learning is recorded and it'll be uploaded to the learning platform. But the Coaches Lab is where you get to come and practice, and it will not be recorded so that people can really be themselves. If you want to be coached, we want you to feel really, really comfortable and get
on and learn to ride the bike. The only way to ride a bike is to do it, get on it.
Yeah.
The only way to coach is to get on it. So it's not recorded, so you can fumble and pause and look
Yeah.
at your notes. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of an evergreen or on-demand learning. So you learn the theory about active listening. But then once a week we meet like we used to do, and we can pull that apart or do any questions and answers, which is kind of the ask us anything. But we've taken, remember those hour and a half long classes? They're not anymore. Now we've got them down to 8-minute or 10-minute little videos with also some writing and some supplemental learning. So you really embody the learning and then come and practice with us once a week. And there's more I'll share with you later about that. But we're really excited about it, and
Yeah.
it's taking off incredibly well.
what I hear you saying is Emergo Academy is open to change and growth and moving
Always.
forward to help people.
Always. We've said that, Scott. We said it in the beginning when we first opened years ago. We said we are not married to one thing. We're going to serve our audience in the best way that we can, and when we find new information that needs to be integrated in, we do that.
I believe I'm a
Yeah.
better coach and a better teacher than a year ago.
Yeah.
And I hope to be a better one next year than I am today.
Yeah.
So it that comes down to being flexible and learning and listen, brain science changes.
Yeah.
So if we believe in brain health, which we do,
Yeah.
we better stay up to date with what that means.
Yeah.
And so our learning is going to it stays very current, whether that's food sciences or psychology
I'm
or
a geek,
neuroscience.
so
we
I
stay
love
very current.
reading and listening to podcasts, and yeah, I'm the chief research officer, and then I make Dave look really good because I just tell him what it is, and then he breaks it out on everybody, and he looks like a genius.
That's true.
Oh, laughing
yeah.
this we're
I know. Don't worry. I know.
I listen to some good books, but
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
No, you
because I
listen to
find
it.
if the way my brain is, if I can get on the treadmill and get active and put
Yeah.
the book in, my brain just goes on fire.
All right, so there's a book called Spark, okay,
Yes.
written by John
Yeah.
Ratty at Harvard University. And one of the studies in Spark is about movement, it's about biophilia, the impact of nature and humans. But another chapter is about a school in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, for middle-aged kids, and they brought in
Middle-aged kids.
middle grade, whatever,
Teenagers.
middle grade kids, and they brought in bicycle desks.
Yeah.
True story. They brought in bicycle desks so kids could pedal slow or they could really work hard, and they would put it was for a math class. They put their math books out. Here's the result of what happened. Attendance went up, retention of students went up, grades skyrocketed, and about a third of the class was failing. Nobody failed, and they went up like 15 or 17%
Yeah.
across the board in grades.
Kids were loving it.
And loving it. And that goes to what you're talking about with an ADHD brain. The frontal lobe is overactive. That's what it is. The frontal lobe is where our executive manager is. And when it's overactive, I have a hard time remembering and processing things.
Yeah.
But if my body is busy, it lowers the energy in the frontal lobe and I can absorb information better. So movement will help a brain that's overactive. And if you want to doubt this, go pick up the book called Spark by John Ratty.
Yeah, no, I've read it. I've read it already. I think that as a teacher, I definitely witnessed a lot of teachers including way more body breaks. At least
Good.
that is what was starting over the last, I don't know, 5
Good.
years at least. So which is good. It's good
Yeah,
to
that's
see,
so
but
good.
yeah. Yeah, the structure of a classroom isn't always easy or conducive, and the teachers aren't always able to, they feel, do these body breaks or have the stress of teaching the curriculum. I always taught my own way, and I moved all the time with my kids.
We've had
Because
six.
you're compassionate to the kids. You were practicing empathy, and you genuinely cared about them. You and I shared a teaching background, and I know the teachers you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, we've had success with teachers though, because teachers get into teaching not to make money. They get into teaching to
Oh.
make an impact, make a difference. And there's a lot of teachers right now that are getting frustrated, and they make tremendous recovery coaches.
Yeah.
To be a recovery coach, you don't have to have lived experience with a drug or alcohol, personally or family. You don't have to. Look at the best basketball coaches are not the best basketball players. They have to understand something really, really well. Michael Jordan was not a great basketball
Wayne
coach.
Gretzky could
Wayne
not
Gretzky is not a great
coach.
hockey coach. Best of the athletes. So you don't have to have lived experience in this as a gambler to be a recovery coach to help a gambler. You have to learn the foundation of coaching, and when you do, you can help anybody overcome any challenge in their life, and that's impact. And that's why teachers, nurses, people in those professions make phenomenal recovery coaches. So anybody that has a calling, I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of, selling perfume. I want something better in my life and something deeper in my life. That's what this is. And there's so many people that want to pay you and hire you.
Paramedics make amazing recovery coaches.
Yes. Yeah. First responders.
Yeah.
Even for the fact you had talked about parents, stay-at-home parents, or parents in general, taking it to have a better relationship with their children.
Yeah.
I think that's incredible. Yeah.
Yep.
So you both speak passionately about helping others and live their greatest comeback story.
Mm.
Your idea of a comeback, or why is it so important?
You got that one.
Work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on, let's get serious about this. The best movies,
Yeah.
the best movies, for me, are movies that are based. And it don't have to be. It's not a biography. It's a movie, but based on a true life event.
Yeah.
And you see the challenge and the adversity and the chaos early in, and you see
And
the
it's hard.
failure,
Yeah.
and you see the struggle.
Yeah.
But at the end of that, what typically can happen is somebody like Rudy. Rudy is a phenomenal movie about a football player that was about 5 foot tall. True story. University of Notre Dame. And at the end, he's the last guy. He was carried off in the '70s. He's the last football player ever to be carried off the field, and he played two plays after a 4-year university career. He played 2 plays because he was a practice guy. And he was small and untalented and slow, but he had heart and dripping with character. And he got to play his 2 plays of his final game of his senior year, the only game he ever dressed, and the team loved him and carried him off the field. And Rudy Rudiger is still a motivational speaker in the United States, and talks about this. So the greatest stories,
Rocky. Who doesn't love the Rocky
but
story?
the greatest stories in the world are these human adversity stories. I don't believe that anybody wakes up wanting to fail. I do not believe that. I don't believe a kid wakes up to fail a math test. I don't believe a woman goes to work wanting to get fired. I don't believe in that. So, but adversities do happen, and when you view that as life happens to me, I'm a victim. When I believe life happens for me, I got fired because there's a better opportunity around the corner. I can't see it. So when I believe that life happens for me and it shapes me and evolves me, including addictions, is that now I can maybe relate to people, understand people in a different way. Your life isn't over, man, at all. And we all get to write our own chapters. And what I love to do as a recovery coach is guide people to live their comeback story.
Love it. I like that. I'm going to quote that. Live your comeback story.
Well, we get pictures of people who now, from our years of experience, are now married and have children, and they send us pictures of newborn babies. I can think of a woman who was scared to get on an airplane and fly, who still years later sends us pictures when she lands in New York City and been on an airplane.
They're on another holiday right now.
We get pictures of people who had issues about public settings and now are going to amusement parks. Like these stories are true recovery stories, and they're comeback stories. And when people share them to us, we smile. We don't take credit for it. We didn't do it. They did. But we smile, and it sure as hell motivates me to keep going.
And that's what you get as a recovery coach.
Yes.
You get to be part of that comeback story. You get to be the guide to just reflect back to people and as we said, listen so deeply that they're able to release those past traumas and walk into the comeback.
If I can say, Scott, that's why your friend is attracted to you. As he sees you living a comeback story, and he's going, I want a piece of that. I want a piece of that.
Yeah.
And that, God, you know what? That's isn't that what life's about?
100%. 100%.
Well, what an honor though to work with people who are in a low state and have maybe given up, and their candle is flickering, and let them lean on you as a coach, where you believe in them more than they believe in themselves, and in time watch that happen. It is God's work. This is a place of faith. This is a place of belief, and it's a place of building lives.
And it's kind of crazy. We talked about decisions earlier, and it's like when I just made the decision my life was changing. One, I never thought I would ever be living in Thailand. Two, I ate jubes or not gummy bears, wine gums by the bag full. And here I am a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we do this food intolerance test, and I get 2 pages of food that I'm not supposed to eat. What was the first thought you think came to my mind?
Well, your gummy thingies are gone.
Well, no, they've been gone for years because I've been a diabetic, but so I've already changed my diet a lot. So now it's like I'm looking at
Another
this list
shift.
going, oh my God, I can't do this. That was the first thing that came to my head.
Yeah,
And then it was like, Scott, you're about brain health.
yeah,
And what you put in your stomach
yes,
feeds your brain. So if
yes.
I got
Gut
cramps
issues.
and gut issues, it's like, what's
Yeah.
going on upstairs? Like, I don't really know the answer to that, but I know it's not good.
Yeah.
Like it affects it a little bit just off, even if it's only a little bit. It's my job to do what I can do for my temple and to
Oh,
keep the power within, not give it away. And so I used to be terrified of change. And now I welcome it because welcoming it brings more change. And who
And
knows,
more peace.
and more peace, and who knows where you're going to end up.
That's growth.
hmm.
So growth, there's a difference between an intention. Welcome to New Year's Eve and all the resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference of an intention, and there's a difference of in an action. I don't care what anybody's intention is. The police don't care what your intention is when you're speeding down the road. They care about your action.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's a great thing. I believe that people on New Year's New Year's Day make a resolution and actually do mean it. I believe that. But on the second Friday of every January, there's a nickname for that day. It's called Quitter's Day.
Hmm. It's a real
Because
thing.
it is. It's a real deal because so less than 2 weeks, sometimes it's 10 days. The majority of people who I'm doing it this
Yeah.
year have quit and given up. And the reason for that, I'll go back to the brain. And the brain is screaming for relief
Yeah.
and wants relief. And you've wired your brain to do something that maybe isn't so healthy. And those neural connections haven't had times called neural pruning to pull apart. And you haven't rewired your brain. Hebb's law, where neurons fire, they wire. And you haven't had time to do that yet. And remember, I remember one of the things we taught is to brush your teeth with your opposite hand and see how weird that feels.
Mm-hmm.
That's your brain. It's not the weight of the toothbrush or the hand. Let's say we both have hands, we all have hands. So it is the brain hasn't been wired
Mm-hmm.
to eat with your opposite hand or brush your teeth with your opposite. Put your makeup, well, women in makeup, that's different. You can do it with your
Yeah,
toes.
no, I won't be putting it on with my
But
wrong hand.
but brushing your hair with your opposite hand is
Yeah.
very different. Brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
Well, that's a brain thing. That's called Hebb's law. The more a neuron fires, the stronger it wires. Well, that can be good and it can be bad. And when we're learning to let go of bad habits, we have to do neural pruning, and it happens over time where the neurons pull apart and they get weak while we create new ones. But it takes time, and it takes constant, repetitive action. The more action, the more the new neurons fire, and the stronger this pattern and habit becomes.
I like
And-
I like to call that the snowball effect because I've felt
Sure.
Yeah,
Yes, it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
I felt like the more I get involved in this, the
Yeah.
more it heals and the more stuff happens, and it just
A positive snowball effect.
yeah, positive. Like it,
Well, we're all old enough to when the period of time when we all thought that the brain was a solid thing, and whatever you had, and when you burned it, you were screwed, and that was it. That's not the case. The brain is plastic at any age. There's neurogenesis. Neurogenesis is the brain's ability to regenerate cells. Well, that makes a lot of sense to me. If I cut my hand at any age, my skin creates new cells and it heals. Now, when I was 15, it heals faster than now, but it still heals. Same thing with the brain. Is my brain can change. It grows new cells, neuroplasticity. I can rewire it differently. And the more you change the brain, the more you change your life.
Exactly.
well, with that, we should probably
We're gonna wrap it up. So, before I wrap it up, you mentioned the Rudy movie, and it's so interesting that Scott talks about things that what do you call that tap you on the shoulder? What's that your version? Nudges, and he's got nudges over his life. I've had a producer, I've had other people say stuff about a movie, and I think I like the title "Live Your Comeback Story" or "Live Your Comeback," and include our 3 books and our life in that. I think that would make a great movie.
Great. It would make an incredible movie.
Out there to the universe. All right. So this has been an absolutely incredible conversation. And this has been a special edition because we usually top it at 30 minutes, but we knew that this conversation was going to be incredible, and will support and help a lot of people. So Dave and Susan, how can our listeners reach out to you? What is the best way?
I guess the easiest way is just our website is at emergoacademy.com, and it's spelled EMERGO, emergoacademy.com. Fastest, easiest way. Emails are there. I mean, if you want, it's Dave at emergoacademy.com, Susan at Emergo Academy. Like, we would get really complicated. But EMERGO Academy.com is the fastest, simplest way, and you can buy our book there, and you can look at our programs. You can even just email us, and we're happy to chat. And if
We
can
even
help,
have a free 30-minute
Oh, that's right.
training on the website. You register for it, and we actually talk about the red and green line model that we talked about tonight on the podcast. We actually take people through
actually,
that.
we do 3 models in the
in
30
the training.
minutes. We do 3 different models. So if
So if
anybody's
you want to
interested,
try it on, or you're curious, then you can sign up for the 30-minute training and then give us a call.
Perfect.
Can you guys lean back and grab your book and show everybody your book? Because it
Yeah.
was an amazing book.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated it. It kind of smashed a few
myths. It changes some myths.
Yeah.
So actualized recovery, it's not about 12 steps. Recovery is a brain thing. Yep, there's our names, international bestsellers there.
Yeah.
We even have a few pictures in here. So there's our iceberg model in here. We got some brain pictures too. I don't know.
It's a good story, right? It's a
It
good
is.
read.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic.
Well, the comments that we hear back is that we took a subject that could be really confusing, talking about brain and neuroscience, and we made it really easy to understand.
Yeah.
Which brain do you want? And you can see this one brain is a nice full brain, and this is a brain from alcohol. And it's undeniable. There's no amount of alcohol that is good for the brain, but we'll get into that. We dive into it and help people. Oh yeah, and here's our actualized recovery poster, and that's our methodology with the brain first approach. So there's all sorts of stuff. Thanks, Scott. I didn't know I was getting into that. But even Dr. Amen himself has written, who is the leading brain psychiatrist in the world, has written a great testimonial and endorsement of the book, as well as many. We've got about 30 or 40 professionals in the world of addictions that have supported the book, including him. And that means a lot to us. And why? Because hopefully it helps even more people. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's why I brought it
Yeah.
up. But we're going to cut this short.
Not cut it short. We're just
We've been going.
we
I
could
thought we're
go
just getting warmed up.
on.
I know.
We're just getting. I was just getting comfortable. Come
I
on,
know.
Scott. Come on. Love you guys, man.
Love you
Love
guys,
you. Love you.
too.
Yes.
And we're going to
So
close
honored
it
to
in
be
the
in your
Thailand
podcast.
fashion.
Yes.
Kapun krap.
And I'll say kapunka. Thank you so much. We appreciate the time. Thank you so much. All right.
Bye.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Bye.
You take